I turned and I knew right then they were both going to start firing at me because I had created enough distance, but I had obviously posed a threat to them and had a fear they were going to both just start firing. So I drew and started firing for my life. I thought no matter what, I wasn't getting out of this alive. Even when I started firing, I was like, I'm definitely getting shot. We fired 17 rounds back and forth. I fired 6, they fired 11.
This episode of the Warriors Way podcast is brought to you by CCW Solutions Group. If you're thinking about getting your concealed carry but don't know where to start, we guide you through the process step by step. Head over to ccwsolutionsgroup.com to get started. Hey, welcome to the Warriors Way, a podcast about your rights, your freedoms, and the mindset to protect both. So imagine doing everything right. You're licensed, you're trained, you're even on your own property. And when your life is on the line, you act, right? You survive, and then the system turns against you. And that's exactly what happened to Vince Ricci here in Los Angeles. When was that?
November 5th, 2023.
November 5th of 2023. So we're actually going to talk about Vince's story, the aftermath, that the system turning on him, and we're going to get his perspective and see what could have been done, what should have been done, and probably help you avoid this situation in the future. So Vince, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So can you walk us through November 5th? Like, what happened?
So I'll start off. It was I'm pretty sure it was either a Friday or Saturday.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, before we do that, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, like, before this incident.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about who you were after the incident.
Yeah. I'm Italian-American. I'm from the Bronx, New York. I moved here 13 years ago for a better life, a better opportunity. When I moved here, California was super safe. It had certain laws like greater bodily harm, different things that protected us, protected people here, protected the regular, innocent, just civilians of society. Sure. And I looked at California as that aspirational place you grew up, you want to live. And nobody in the Bronx is waking up every day saying we want it, we made it, we're here. And nobody in California is waking up every day saying one day we're going to make it, we're going to move to the Bronx.
Right.
Everybody wants to move to Southern California. Now it's a little different because of the way things got a little out of hand. People think I'm crazy for still living here. But, 13 years ago, I aspired to move here. I came to work in the photo and film industry, started Hubble Studios, started a couple other things, got invested in a few different companies, a few different brands through Hubble, being exposed to so many different types of people. Started a life, went back a couple times to New York to take care of my parents while they were sick and ended up burying them in the Bronx where they were from. And then,
sorry to hear that.
Yeah. And came back here and started a family. Got married, have 3 children, that I love of my life, so I care about. At the time of this incident, I had 1 child. I had a daughter. And like anybody knows it's a parent, your whole life changes.
Oh, absolutely.
My whole life changes. Like that day that happened, I went from I stopped being a son when I buried my mother, but I became a dad when my daughter was born.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole new life. I felt like my mother was reborn. And my work aspirations changed, everything changed, even though California is definitely not entrepreneurial anymore. It doesn't help you. It's
Right.
not here for you.
Yeah, it's no longer business friendly.
No, definitely not, but it's beautiful.
Right.
And, I wake up in 80-degree weathers in February. It's like, the best place in the world right now because this is where my opportunity is. So back to that day.
Yeah, hold on. So I'm actually from Minnesota, so I know what you say about the California dream. So growing up, all we wanted to do was leave upper Minnesota. It's beautiful there. Winters are a little rough, probably like it is in the Bronx, but nobody ever said, oh, I want to stay. It's always, the dream.
Yeah.
Dream. And even coming to California, sometimes that dream becomes a nightmare. So that's why we're trying to get into this scene here.
So this is where the dream turned into a nightmare. Honestly, everything was going so good in my life. I was on the tail end of really overcoming the grief of burying both my parents back to back, which took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. Really getting through it and having my daughter change that. today was a day that I had went to work all day, went to the gym. I remember vividly I did a 400-calorie workout on an assault bike, which, if anybody knows, is a grueling workout. Mm-hmm. And I was on the way home on the phone. My sister had my earpods on, which a lot of people criticize. I had my earpods on, but they don't understand. I took the call in the gym, left them on, continued to have a conversation with her to catch up about whatever. You know, we support each other. And I hung up the phone as I was walking in the house because I don't like to greet my family while being on the phone, and immediately went back to what was playing on my earphones.
Sure.
So I didn't hear anything. Walking in the house, what I was actually contemplating was, this tea is really hot, and should I water the plants outside before I go inside?
You'd gone to Starbucks or something, right?
Yeah, I had stopped at Starbucks on the way home. And all of a sudden, like, boom, I felt something stick me in the back, and I turned around and see the guy with a mask, and I was like, oh. It was like a cliff. You know, I went from being at one of the most buoyant, relaxed moments of my life, you know, worked all day, smoked myself. It was the end of the week. I was going to be able to enjoy a weekend with my new baby, and immediately fell down back to the Bronx, back to my childhood, back to everything that made me feel oppressed against, that I was never going to make it. I was never going to make it out of where I was from. Everything was held against me. You know what I mean? It wasn't for me. And at this moment, after overcoming so much, and things were going great in my life, I felt like the world was for me. I felt like things were for my life. I had a beautiful, healthy daughter. Relationship with my wife was amazing. Just everything was great. My plants were thriving in the yard. You know, it was great. And that cliff, boom. And my sympathetic nervous system kicked in and slowed everything down. And I contemplated every outcome. Whether I concede, they're going to come in the house. And they're probably going to pistol whip my wife, and who knows?
You got a wife and
whoever knows what's going to happen. And her friend and our nanny was in the house also having dinner with us. So there was 3 women plus a baby. And call me old school, but I still think that men should protect women. And no matter what, I'll put myself on the line for that. And I played everything out in like seconds, you know, which felt like minutes to me. It felt like I thought the guy was going to tap me and say, hey, buddy, I'm standing right here. Like, I'm robbing you.
Sure.
Like, wake up. And I turned, and the first thing I thought was to throw my tea at him and buy myself some time and try to take his gun. When I didn't grab the gun right away, and he turned around with the gun pointing at me. And the other guy had just got his gun out of his hoodie pocket.
Oh, so there was more than one.
It was 2 guys, yeah.
Okay, 2.
And
how did they get in?
They hopped over the fence because code enforcement keeps you from raising a fence above 4 feet.
Oh.
And I literally went to the Largemount Community Board and fought with them over this because there was other issues in the area. And I was like, you know, I should be able to raise my fence. And they fought me over it, and they hopped right over that little 4-foot fence very fast. You know, I turned, and I knew right then they were both going to start firing at me because I had created enough distance, but I had obviously posed a threat to them, and out of fear, they were going to both just start firing. So I drew and started firing for my life. I thought no matter what, I wasn't getting out of this alive. Even when I started firing, I was like, I'm definitely getting shot. We fired 17 rounds back and forth. I fired 6, they fired 11. I ran for cover the minute I knew that I could, really to get out of the light, because where I was standing was like super bright. So I knew that whoever else was out there was going to be able to see me clearly. I wanted to get to safety. I know a lot of people had commented online that looked like I was running into the fight. I wasn't. I was running to safety. I was in a fatal funnel, and anyone knows anything about anything knows to get the hell out of there.
Right.
Made it for cover, seen the guy exiting over the fence. And I could have shot him.
The first guy or the second guy?
The first guy. I seen him exiting to the side. I could have shot him, but he didn't pose a threat to me anymore, so I didn't shoot him. It just wasn't necessary, and I didn't want to. Went back, rechecked the gun, and then cleared the rest of the house. And when I had made my way back into the house, I had thought that I was shot. So I took my shirt off really fast and then checked my legs. I didn't take my pants off because there was other people in the house.
Sure.
So, but I had felt my legs up and down. And the minute that I realized that I wasn't shot and I made it back in the house, it was like this euphoric moment that I said I won.
Sure.
And I got out of there with my life.
Yeah.
Now, I almost couldn't believe that it just happened. And I was like, did this really just happen?
So surreal.
It was so surreal. And I was obviously angry, but I was more definitely grateful to be alive. Police respond. I go outside. I called a good friend of mine who was a sergeant, Sergeant Cruz down here, because I do a lot of work with the police department down here. And I immediately just thought to call him because this guy's like my protector. Like he'll always back me up. He's a really good dude. He's a family man. And he was like, "Did you fear for your life?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You better go tell them." And I went outside. Obviously told them I feared for my life. Everything. I had my shirt off to show that I wasn't armed.
Right.
Back and forth. The first guys who showed up were great. Some of them were ex-military guys.
We'll get into the police involvement here for a second, but just going back to that situation, when you turned around, did you make eye contact with him? And what did you see in his eyes? Like, was it fear? Was it
Well, he had a mask on, so I really couldn't tell that much.
Okay.
I mean, he was definitely ready to rock and roll.
Because it's you
He was ready to rock and roll.
It was milliseconds, but it felt like minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So instantly you're, and we've all been at that point where sometimes you feel God keeps kicking you down. Oh, I just made it. Like I made it. So everybody's been at that point where I'm just about to break and this is what happened. And so I totally get that. So when you get back into the house, before law enforcement gets there, what do you say to your wife?
Well, the first thing I said, she had clicked the electric blind opener to let the blinds go up to let me in, and I seen her little feet with her socks on, waiting for the blinds to go up. And the first thing I said was, "Did you really wait for the blinds to go up to let me in? You could have just yanked them out of the way and let me in."
Yeah.
And I didn't really laugh, but it was a way of sarcasm to break it up.
Sure, of course, it lightens the situation.
Yeah, I guess I grew up in enough trauma that sarcasm just comes natural.
Absolutely.
And I knew I was alive.
Yeah.
She was definitely beside herself. My wife is an Irish Catholic girl from Pennsylvania.
Sure.
From the Poconos.
Yeah.
She's never been in a fist fight.
Right.
Let alone an argument, or a shooting. She didn't think it was a shooting. She thought somebody was hitting the door with a sledgehammer.
Oh, okay. But you told her then.
Well, they realized after the first few shots what it was. It was dealing with her. I ran upstairs to make sure. Our nanny ran upstairs to grab the baby. And it was I never forget that moment. She was hiding in the bathroom, and I seen her poke her head out. It was her and the baby,
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was just such fear in these women's eyes.
Sure.
And I'm like, I kind of felt a little guilty because I felt like I kind of took part in that, even though it's not like I can't stop anybody from coming here.
Right.
But you always, as a man, kind of take responsibility and take blame. But I said, everything's all right, this and that. Let me go deal with the cops. Let me go outside. It happened so fast, and it also makes you realize, this is not anybody getting struck by lightning. This is more like there's a lightning storm every single day and we're all walking around with 10-foot poles. That's what it's like living in L.A.
Sure, of course.
Everybody's getting robbed.
Has it always been that way since you moved to L.A. or?
No, in the beginning it was great. I don't know anybody got robbed because everybody went to jail.
Right.
If you did anything, you went to jail. If you offended somebody too much, you went to jail. So it was now you could just shoot somebody and not even get in trouble.
Yeah, so the sheriff at the time that this happened was?
Luna.
Sheriff Luna. Yeah, we actually interviewed Sheriff Alex Villanueva on a previous podcast, and you guys should check that one out. But the city of LA, or not even the city, the county of LA, seemed to be on a decline ever since this new
Yep.
leadership, if you can call it that, came into play. So Definitely, people know that LA is no safer today than it was 5 years ago, and it's less safe every day.
Yeah.
So, you're talking to law enforcement. At some point, they get there. Walk us through that with law enforcement.
And most people were great. Everybody was there. It was great. There was a young guy that got a little snappy with me outside, and I wasn't in the mood for it. Telling me to go back inside my house to not step on the glass. He's looking out for my safety. I said, buddy, don't worry about my safety. I was so annoyed at that point. We ended up having words that ended up getting brought up later on. This guy filed a complaint against me. Everybody else was great. He was one 24-year-old kid. I'm 40 years old now. You know what I mean? I was 38 when this happened.
Sure.
I'm not arguing with a 24-year-old. It's just not happening.
Right.
You know? And it definitely didn't behoove me to have that argument. I wish I didn't. I wish I just didn't pay him any mind. But I was very triggered. And I'd never been through this before.
Sure, of course.
You know, I didn't even think that I was ever going to have to use my gun, let alone get shot at so many times.
Right.
You know, through my glass door into my house while my wife is sitting on the other side. Now we have a joke in the house. The end chair table in the dining room, which is behind the glass, is called the death chair.
Oh.
So nobody wants to sit there. It's
Right.
like a joke.
Sure,
we have
of
to
course.
make it a joke because that's how crazy it is.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Like, they're like, oh, that's a death chair. Oh, there's bullet holes in the gate. You know what I mean? Like, this is normal.
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You have to make light of it.
Yeah.
Gets you through the day.
But that's the world we live in. And
Sure, of
that's the
course.
reality. Everybody I know has been robbed. Everybody I know that's made something of themselves has either had their house robbed or been robbed or
Jeez.
attempted robbery.
That's crazy. So you were a concealed carry holder at
Yep.
the time.
Yeah.
So but the firearm that you used in this situation was later discovered it was not on your CCW.
Yeah.
And the Los Angeles Police Department, who you had, oh, it's the Sheriff's Department? The
Sheriff's
Sheriff's Department. You had a CCW issued through. What did they do?
So I ended up speaking to him. I was working with detectives. I ended up speaking to them a couple of days later. They said, oh, the gun on your thing isn't the gun that matches it. I said, oh, yeah. I said, I emailed you guys because while I was in process for a CCW, I wasn't approved, and it took 2 years. And at the time when I got approved, nobody was getting approved. My house got robbed 2 weeks after my daughter was born, and they robbed the firearm. And the first thing I said was, like, you guys got it. There's a loaded firearm. They have it, like, not just because it's my firearm, but these kids left with a loaded firearm, and then they're fleeing a scene of robbery. They're going to use it. Like, someone's going to get shot.
Sure.
I emailed the CCW department, hey, there was an incident with my firearm, a robber in my house. They never got back to me. But you know, my daughter was 11 days old. I wasn't
How long
sleeping at
ago?
all.
How long before this?
That was 6
incident?
months prior.
Oh, okay.
And
So plenty enough time to get a hold
Yeah.
of you.
I was told by somebody else in law enforcement, oh, replace the gun. I said, but that's my CCW gun. They said, well, you don't have a CCW.
It wasn't issued yet.
You didn't have one, and you may
Right.
not even get one. So replace the gun, and when they contact you, I'm assuming you'll work it out then. When they contacted me, honestly, you know, for anybody that's ever had a child, especially a child that you know, you stay up all night taking care of,
Sure, of
and you're not
course.
sleeping and working, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know, when you have a child, I completely forgot about the incident even happening.
Yeah.
I contacted them. They didn't call me back. I was told I didn't have a CCW.
And
whatever.
you didn't at the time.
Yeah. I remember this like it was yesterday. I get called to go in to receive my CCW. I got approved. They said, oh, fantastic. I have to go there. I have to be there at 3 o'clock. I get there at 3 o'clock. I walk in. I'm sitting in the waiting room in the whatever area it was around 3:11. I said, hey, I asked the guy again, am I someone coming down to get me? I said, oh, they just left. I said, why'd they leave? I said, I'm sitting down here. He said, oh, so I forget what he had said. He said, oh, email them. You'll get a new date to come. I said, all right. Show up there again. I walk in. They took my picture. They didn't ask me any questions. Hand me the thing, and I left. I had completely forgot that I replaced the gun, but I bought the same caliber,
Sure.
the same model, Glock 26. You know, it's my fault. I should have been more on top of it. I really didn't think it was a
Oh,
big deal.
I think you trusted law enforcement.
Yeah, I was still under this impression, still feeling good about my choices in life, that I would be taken care of. God has been taking care of me, kept me safe my entire life. I was like, oh, it's not like if I don't have malintent or bad intentions, I'll be all right. I'm not going to buy a whole different gun, or an illegal firearm
Right.
and trying to, pose that it's this. I've replaced it and that's it. Honestly, it's the first handgun I've ever owned. Not at the time I wasn't really a big gun guy.
Sure.
Then when they contacted me, they said, "Oh, this is a different gun. This is not. We're gonna suspend your license." I said, "Well, one, I really hope you don't do that because the guy that I had the shooting with is an active gang member. They've already contacted me. They've came back to my house. They've threatened me. They're trying to extort me. Like I need my firearm to protect myself, and I need to be able to carry. Like I have a wife that is like." Suffers from severe anxiety now, severe
Sure.
depression. She sits on the iPad every night, looks at the cameras in front of the house. It was very rough for a little while. And with a baby staying up all night, it was like still a lot. And then they revoked it, but they wouldn't tell me why. They never told me it was over the gun thing.
Yeah, I know we talked about this before, but at the time I was the concealed carry weapons coordinator for Riverside County.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with Sheriff Chad Bianco about this incident when it happened. And we both kind of came to the same conclusion that we would never revoke someone for protecting their family, especially on their own property. Because it doesn't matter, actually, if the firearm is on your CCW, you're on your own property. So, and it's not illegal to transport your firearm in your vehicle to and from wherever, as long as it's safely stored or legally stored inside that vehicle. So the fact that you had a firearm registered to you on your own property and used it in your self-defense, for LAPD or LASO, the sheriff, to revoke it, I think it was a travesty.
Yeah.
Sheriff Bianco actually at the time put out a comment, and we shared your story, saying that would never happen in Riverside County, right? He is a firm believer in the Second Amendment and people's ability to protect themselves. So you just moved to the wrong county.
Yeah. He reached out to me during the whole thing.
Oh, yeah?
It was it felt good for my family.
Yeah.
It felt good that other powerful people were reaching out and supported us, and I didn't feel when this all happens and then you're feeling down and then you're getting kicked down lower, then you're getting things revoked, it's not a good feeling.
No.
It feels like everybody's against you. And it makes you have that bitter feeling like, what am I doing here? What am I even wasting my time trying to be friendly with you people? Trying to be friendly. And it made me bitter towards a lot of people because I started to realize, you know what? I am back in the Bronx. I am a kid from nothing. I am getting left behind.
Sure. I got to start fighting for myself again.
And I start fighting and F everybody. And it's me and my family against the world. And I'm not helping nobody. Besides, we have Trina's Kids Foundation, which we give back a ton. With the exception of that I give my heart and soul to. Everybody else, get out of here.
Right.
I know you really ain't trying to help me, which I don't want to live like that.
Sure, of course.
You know what I mean? I don't want to be like that. And I started to look at like the cops, like they really weren't trying to help. And these weren't really trying to help. The sheriff's department on the Luna was definitely not trying to help.
Still is that way.
Literally, they called me to let me know it was revoked. And they said, we don't really have to give you a reason why. And it was so like you took an oath to serve and protect.
Right.
You took an oath. This is what you did as a man or a woman, that you're protecting a certain level of society that can't. And you can't even have a conversation. Like you can't even justify why, because it's so political.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because it's so political. And my story got so many views. Like it was on Good Morning America. I spoke on Fox so many times. It was a national story, hundreds of millions of views, as to say how bad California is and how bad Los Angeles is. That this guy who received awards from the mayor for a decade of charitable work that I've done through Trina's Kids Foundation in Los Angeles is now getting scrutinized for something he did outside his house. It wasn't midnight. It was 7 p.m. I was coming home from work in the gym. I'm dead sober. That time and forever.
Yeah, you did everything right.
Yeah, like what? Wait, what more do you want to say? You know, what I mean, what am I doing? Unless I was carrying kids out of a river, you know what I mean? Like, what more
Right.
could I have done that was just like an upstanding citizen, I give back to my community, I take care of my family, and that's it. And you just look for no other reason than because it represented gun rights. It represented things that people, part of that administration with Luna, don't favor towards.
Sure,
You
absolutely.
know, and they're not.
How many firearms did you have on your CCW?
One.
Okay.
I didn't think I needed more than one.
Well, one of the things that I always recommended, I have spoken literally to tens of thousands of CCW applicants, tens of thousands. We just went over 65,000 in Riverside County. So I just retired last June from Riverside County as Sheriff Bianco's CCW coordinator. And I always tell people have a minimum of 2 firearms on your CCW. And the reason is because of incidents like this. Because that gun went into evidence. Did that gun go into evidence?
I didn't give it in.
Oh, they didn't take it?
No.
Oh, generally, those firearms, and that's actually an interesting thing because if there's ever a shooting, I guess if there's ever a victim, if you had hit him, you didn't hit him.
I hit him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, and they didn't take your gun?
They found him in the hospital, never arrested him, nothing.
Yeah, but they didn't take your gun for evidence.
I think they didn't take my gun because they swept the whole thing under the rug.
Yeah,
They swept the kid, the whole thing. Detectives knew, they came back after me.
yeah.
They knew
No,
anything
they
about
didn't
it.
take the firearm that you used to defend your
No.
family. Okay, generally, they would take that. So in any lawful use of force, they would collect that gun for evidence until they're done with the adjudication process. Apparently, that didn't happen in this situation. But it's always best to have at least 2 firearms in situations like this.
Yeah.
So, I had another guy go through an incident, and pretty early on, we were able to determine, like, hey, you certainly were the victim here. So I know that one firearm is now in evidence until the adjudication process. Put the other one on your hip. So I think the clear thing here is there's so many different standards amongst agencies. And that's one of the things I talked to Sheriff Bianco about, spoke with Sheriff Villanueva about, is the standard. Like every agency should adhere to the same standard. Some agencies require psych, some agencies have all these different restrictions that they're kind of pricing people out of a CCW, making it more expensive. They're pricing people out of the ability to protect themselves. So having multiple standards amongst different agencies is really not doesn't really support the public and their
No.
ability to protect themselves. So the media obviously got involved, and this wasn't just Vince's fight anymore. This was like a Second Amendment fight.
Yeah.
Of a national conversation about your ability to protect yourself on your own property. So was there a whole lot of backlash? A lot of support for you. Was there backlash on the agency because of that?
There was definitely backlash from certain groups on the agency, and then I feel like they fought back, and then CNN kind of came after me and portrayed me as a
shocking.
guy firing at people running away from his house, which that is not the case. They cut up that video so creatively.
Right.
It might as well have been a porno. It was so wild how they did it and
Yeah.
put it out and boosted it on social media, which, I wanted to continue to keep fighting and publicly speaking about it, but then my wife was so nervous at the time when news reporters were outside the house every single day.
Yeah.
Obviously, people know where we are. We know these people are still looking for me. It was like a disaster. It became a disaster, and I kind of just wanted to go back to normal life. So they revoked my CCW. Were very harsh about it, and basically, in other words, said like, "You're lucky you're not getting charged."
Yeah, so this is what happens when law-abiding citizens are punished for exercising their Second Amendment right or
Yeah.
protecting their families. Not necessarily the Second Amendment right, but protecting their families, because clearly that's what happened here.
Yeah.
They didn't jump that fence because they wanted to say hi. They came in with bad intentions.
They had extra magazines.
Yeah.
Both of them had extra magazines.
Yeah,
They
so
dropped them.
They were up to nefarious
Yeah.
intentions, up to no good. So I know that you got all this media attention. It was eventually revoked. A lot of agencies came out in support of you. At some point, you said, hey, let me throw my hat back in the ring to get another concealed
Yep.
carry. But you didn't go through LA Sheriff.
No, I went to LAPD.
Yeah, you're just a poor opportunity or a missed opportunity for LA Sheriff
Yeah.
to really, good law enforcement, they mess up too sometimes. Had they come and said, hey, you know, after further review, you know, we're gonna reissue this CCW. Let's, you know, do whatever we can to help you protect your family. But it is clear to me that the LA Sheriff's Department, and I'm actually surprised you got it by LAPD, because the culture in this county, LA County, is to restrict, not to
Yep.
restrict your rights, not to extend those rights.
Yep.
And this is actually why it's important that we support people that fight for our rights, not suppress them.
Yep.
Right? Sheriff Luna being one of them, the LA Board of Supervisors, LA City Council. Even in LA, how long did it take you to get it from LAPD?
I just got it.
Yeah,
last
but how,
month.
the process?
That my wife was staying on top of the timelines. We've had 2 kids since then, 2 sleepless nights,
Sure.
a lot of sleepless nights. I'll be honest with you, it all blended together. It took a little while. Another note, the sheriff's department was publicly saying that I don't support the police department. I don't support this. CNN to that.
Right.
It's possible. It's possible. You could publicly look up videos of me with the police department, me doing things.
Well, yeah, through your foundation, through Trina's.
It's funny. This Christmas we filled BMO Stadium, which is a professional soccer field here, with toys and let
Yeah.
thousands of kids running it. Simultaneously, right next door at the Coliseum, the LAPD was having their own event the following day. So I
Right.
said, come to my event, participate. I want you guys to give back to the community. The community has to be tethered. These young kids, especially this is a very Hispanic population, East LA, that come to these events.
Sure.
They don't feel that the police, they don't have this natural inclination that the police support them. But when you come to these events and you're giving out toys and you're giving out turkeys and you're giving out backpacks and you're doing things and you're speaking to kids, now you're a human. And now they humanize the police department. And that's what I've worked so hard to do with tethering the police department with these community events that we do. And they're not, government events.
Right.
They're not city events. They are Trina's Kids events.
Right.
So
we're going to put your information at the bottom of this podcast. We absolutely want everybody to go and support
Yeah,
your
thank you.
foundation.
Yeah.
Because I've seen your videos, and fantastic. I mean,
Thank you.
talk about being selfless, right? You support so many people, and we want to be able to have our community support that as well.
yeah, thank you.
So-
And that event, we had dozens of police officers there. They actually flew the LAPD, one of the LAPD choppers above it, and said my name.
Oh, they
Called
did?
me, yeah, over the loudspeaker over the
Yeah.
stadium, which was really cool. It's so but it was cool, and I work with some really great people in the LAPD,
Yeah.
and when I got contacted that I got approved, I almost couldn't believe it because I didn't expect it to happen.
Yeah.
But then I got it back, and I'm like, you know what? The LAPD is one of the older police departments. It's got a lot of historic, background here in Los Angeles.
Sure.
It's still a great city. It's going to be once again another great city, and I still believe that there's a lot of good cops out there. I believe there's a lot of people that really
Well, thank
care.
you for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We are judged by the character of a few,
yeah,
and that characterization carries to every interaction. Had that been the only interaction, or had you not been mature enough to understand, like, hey, this was one cop or one bad incident, it could really affect you for the rest of your life and turn you absolutely against law enforcement. But it's a maturity thing,
yeah.
right? So
There's scumbags everywhere.
Sure, of
I had
course.
a guy mechanic beat me for a ton of money trying to fix my old Blazer. Does that mean I think every mechanic's a scumbag? No.
Right.
One guy's a jerk off doesn't mean everybody's a jerk off. You know what I mean? It's the truth. There's always going to be scumbags, and that's what separates the people who really try to do the right thing.
Right. Perfect. Okay, well, so the aftermath, had the opportunity to meet your wife, fantastic woman, but she showed me a video of that 4-foot wall.
Yeah.
You guys said 3 guys jumped the fence how long ago was that? Just the other day?
So, yeah, not too long ago, again, they came back in the back, which is a little bit of a bigger wall, and hopped in and tried to get in while she was in the house.
Yeah.
I was in Florida with there's an actor named Terrence J. He was down there, Damon John from Shark Tank, and my partner Dan Fleischman. We were having lunch, and Damon was like, "Oh, show Terrence the video," because Terrence had an incident. They all moved to Miami because of their incidents in L.A. He
Sure.
had his house robbed 3 times, and then they ran up to him at gunpoint for the 4th time, and he was like,
And
"I'm
who's
leaving."
it? What's his?
Terrence J.
Okay.
He was the host of 106 at Park. He's been in a ton of movies.
Yeah, maybe
Big
you
actor.
can hook us up and we'll have him on the podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He had left. As I'm showing them the video and I'm in Florida, my wife calls me 911. She texts me 911. I call. She said, "These guys just tried to break in the house again." I said, "I can't even believe it."
Well, what was going through your mind when that happened?
Well, I was in Florida, so I felt very
Yeah.
helpless.
Useless. I mean, yeah.
Useless. She had slammed the door. I ran. Yelled, "I'm getting a gun," and they had took off running. Thank God, that he was there looking out for her.
For sure.
And he was protecting her, but it was just a message. I need security. I need better cameras. I need better security system outside. We can't leave the door wide open. My kids, I can't just have my kids running in the yard if I'm in the kitchen. It doesn't work like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like, this is LA.
Yeah.
This is Los Angeles. This is where
This-
the movie industry was made. All these famous things. Everybody thinks that you come here to have a better life, and it's still like this.
Yeah.
It's still bad. Well, it recently became bad, but we got to change that. We got to vote better.
Right.
We got to change some
Yeah.
of the laws.
I tell everyone that having a firearm should be like having your phone or your keys. Like, wear it even inside your own home, because people break in like that. So had they gotten inside the house, a lot of people are like, "Oh, my gun is safely stored in the safe." But if you can have it accessible, you don't have to run to the safe.
Yep.
Had those guys been able to get inside, I mean, what would have happened? Bad intentions.
Yep.
We'd be having a different conversation here, which is horrible. So, if you're going to own a firearm, wear it all the time on your property. Get a concealed carry, so you can protect yourself away from your home. I've had friends lose their lives in battle, CCW holders, recently, and it's really problematic. So there's an opportunity for you to legally protect your family.
Well, it's a right.
It is.
It is a right. It's not a privilege. It is a right.
So let me ask you, we're going to actually have a different conversation. I'm going to ask you, because I ask everybody the same thing. So the Second Amendment says your right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And I just want to make it absolutely clear, 20 years combined in law enforcement, I am a huge Second Amendment advocate, right? But it says your Second Amendment right shall not be infringed. Like, what does that mean?
Well, I think the new interpretation is that we are infringing. We're taking that away. Most places you can't even have a gun in
Right.
America, let alone they don't want to give it out. And it's this new understanding of this concealed carry. It's like for the esoteric, for the high and mighty. It's not for the regular person.
Right.
It's not for us.
Right.
We just got to settle down as commoners that we can't protect ourselves.
Right.
That's not it. It is a right. We are all Americans. It is a right.
100%.
And if you do not exercise your right, it's on you. The people, this is what I kind of concluded after all this, is that none of these departments, there may be some good people in there, but ultimately, a lot of this stuff is politically driven. They're not looking for the rights of us. We're a voter base,
Right.
and that's it.
Sure.
And definitely when we ain't the regular one. You have to exercise those rights. No one's looking to help you. No one's going to give you a handout. No one's handing you a loaf of bread. You have to go and figure out how to make it happen. You have to go and figure out how to do that. And if you do not exercise those rights, you lose those rights.
Yeah, so when I had Sheriff Bianco on our podcast, we talked about this, and everybody tries to make the Second Amendment like a second-class right,
Yeah.
right? Oh, it's not that important. But it's the Second Amendment that actually gives you the power to enforce the other amendments. And I'll just give you an example. If I don't have the ability to stand against tyranny, which is really the reason behind the Second Amendment, then the government can take away my right to free speech because I have no way of defending myself against it. They can come into my house, illegal search and seizure. They can come in at will. If I don't have the ability to resist the government, and that's where the Second Amendment comes in. And we're not talking about like a civil war, but at some point, every dynasty, there's always a clash because they continue to take and take and take. At what point do people fight back? And I'm not advocating for a civil war against the government, but I'm advocating that everybody stand up for their rights and exercise them, right? Because that Second Amendment is the thing that gives you the power to enforce all the other amendments.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so.
If you can't protect yourself, you can't protect your home.
Right.
They have to have these different acts, these home acts that like you could protect your house. And I think we need to implement that in California big time. Because
so clearly, again, vote for the people that are helping you exercise your rights, not the ones that are taking away from it or restricting them. So I'm going to have a few last key points, but do you have anything else that you want to say? Or?
Yeah.
You sure? I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Appreciate
For
that.
sure, in your story. So a couple key things. If you do have a CCW, make sure that every firearm that you have listed on your CCW, or that if you're going to carry, I should say, make sure it's listed. That way we don't run into this situation again because, every agency is different. Unfortunately, he ran into the LA Sheriff's Department at the time. This isn't a dig on the LA Sheriff's Department because help is coming, LA. Help is coming in this next election. So get out there and vote for people that are helping you. So understand your agency's policies and communicate with your agency. Reference your CCWs. Don't assume that common sense applies with these administrative decisions. Clearly, in another county, we use common sense when it comes to this, so we wouldn't have revoked it, but there was no common sense in LA at the time, and it was a political issue, especially when it got enough national attention. Then they really poured the heat on. So just make sure that you're doing things the right way, and make sure you get as much training as possible. A lot of times, how often do you train?
Oh, now I shoot all the time.
Yeah, how often did you train before?
0.
Yeah, that's really the thing. So on another episode, I'm going to have Dan Fleshman from, he's a sponsor of Operation Black Site. They have this training facility where they really teach you how to defend yourself, not even with just firearms, but beyond that. So I'm looking forward to having Dan on that episode, but train, because once you stop training, that's when bad things happen. And these things become second nature, right? They become second nature, your quick draws, your things like that. You don't want to rely on poor training when someone else is training to defeat you. So again, thank you again for being on our podcast.
Thank you so much.
Come back for our future podcasts. Again, we're going to have some great guests. We're also starting an affiliate page and a sponsor page because we want to be able to support people that support us. We're going to have a sponsor page where we're going to be able to maybe provide discounts on things for training, gear, things like that. I got a lot of people that are interested in supporting us because they support you and vice versa. So again, thank you for watching our episode today, and stay tuned for future episodes.